guys, it's Colleen, and I am here with James and Arkasia. It's Cox, right?
Yep.
I always mess up people's names. Like I know them, and then I go to say them and I blank. So we are here, and they happen to be our president of PAACH for the last few years. So welcome, guys. And this is not complicated. I promise, James. I won't make it hard for you. So who are you? Who is your family? And how did you start homeschooling?
That's an interesting story. I'll let you talk about who we are, and then I'll get into the how did we start homeschooling, because I love telling this story.
Yeah. Well, we're a family with 6 children. Our oldest is 23 and married with with a 4-month-old son. And then we've got a 20-year-old, an 18-year-old, a 16-year-old, a 8-year-old, and a 10-month-old. So we've got 2 that are completely out of high school, 1 completely through college, and we have 1 that is just getting started in life. We started homeschooling all over again with our 8-year-old, and we're going to be doing it again here in a few years. So we have lots of different experiences with homeschooling.
Yep, it has changed over the years. So how we started homeschooling was interesting because my oldest daughter, who is 23 now, we just automatically put her into a preschool program called Bright Futures. And at the time, what they did is it was in the school district, and so they would just automatically pre-register them into the school district for kindergarten. And so I was just filling out the paperwork one day, and he comes home from work and he's like, "So what are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm filling out the paperwork for Elena to go into kindergarten next year at school." And he looks at me and he's like, "I thought we were going to homeschool." And I'm like, "Oh, we are?" Because we have
Okay.
never had that conversation before. We were married 5 years at that point, 6 years at that point, and we never had a conversation about what schooling looks like for our kids. And so I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, it's kindergarten, right? I can't possibly mess up kindergarten." So that's how we started, and then just over the years, our philosophy has slowly changed into more of a home discipleship. Is why we home educate our kids. So I enjoy telling that story because it's makes people wonder and helps people realize that you should probably have those conversations
Right.
ahead of time.
Well, but
Thankfully, we didn't have any fights or anything about it. We just
No.
kind of just molded into what we
that's the
do.
thing though, is you don't think about it because kind of traditionally that's the step. You do preschool, you do kindergarten, whatever, you go into school. Like that's because no,
That's the
that's
next
kind of
step.
been
And
my
now we
thing.
both public school, so we're like, that's what you
Yeah,
do. You put your kids in school.
right. You
Yeah.
put your kids and because especially like when I was growing up, I'm sure it was kind of the same with you. If you were homeschooled, there was something wrong. You know what I mean? It wasn't a normal way of schooling back when I was
It
growing
was
up. Like,
definitely considered different. Actually, I was
yeah.
homeschooled for 1 year in junior high, and I can remember my mom got crucified by the school
Yep.
district. Our homeschool laws have not changed in 50 plus years, but
But acceptance of homeschooling
Right.
has
The acceptance, and
definitely,
that's
completely
yes.
a
And so
big
it was
part of
definitely
it.
considered different if you homeschooled. And I can remember going into the school district after the year that I was homeschooled, and everybody's like, "What's homeschooling? And why did you homeschool? And is
Right.
that legal? And is that okay to do?"
And yeah, well, and just I think social media has helped that a lot because
for sure.
now even if you live in the country where you can still meet other people, you have a group and like, well, even here locally, like you can make up your own groups. You know what I mean? Like we have a social the Friday recess group that I just created basically so the kids could socialize. Like it has
Yeah.
nothing to do with school other than the social aspect of it. But it became a whole lot more fun for the kids to know that they get to go to something and like it's our reward for the end of the week. Like that's why it's on Fridays is because we do school the beginning and then Friday is kind of a catch up and free day. So
Right.
we go to a recess group and like almost every kid that has come back and like their parents, yeah, it's now okay, you do that and then we'll go to recess group. And if you don't get your schoolwork done, then we're not going to recess group. Like, okay.
Right.
It's a
So
great incentive.
right. And that's kind
Yes.
of what I used it as is like we only homeschool Monday through Thursday. So I'm like, but you still have to have your work done. If it's not done, then Friday is you still have school. But if it's
Hmm.
done, then you can hang out and chill and then we go to recess group and
Right.
But yeah, I love the acceptance has become a whole lot, and it's a whole lot easier as a mom to get a hold of other moms or the
Right.
information to help you get started instead of just being like, well, I don't know what I'm doing. That was always my thing. I was like, well, I don't want to screw up my children. You know what I mean? Because that's kind of your biggest fear as a mom, no matter
That's
what.
everybody's biggest fear. Like I said, when I was like, you can't mess up kindergarten, right? But
Right.
if I had a sixth grader or an eighth grader at the time, I probably would have been a lot more fearful.
Well, yeah, that was kind of my thing. Gracie was well, she started third when we started homeschooling because second was when COVID hit. That's how I figured out. I was like, well, she's home. I'm doing it anyway. Like, I can
Right.
do this. This is no big deal. But Jake was going into seventh. His sixth grade year was COVID. And I was like, okay, so I'm pretty sure I can do seventh and eighth, but like freshman year, we got to figure something out. Like, but I wasn't going to send him back to school if he didn't want to go back. And they both love homeschooling. So,
Yeah.
and it's always been, I guess I decided we were going to do it, but it was always with their input. Like, if you don't like it, we'll put you back in, you know what I mean? We'll reevaluate after this year. Well, next year we'll reevaluate. Now it's like, it's more of a threatened punishment. If you don't do your homework, you're going back to school. I'm not going to do this anymore. And so, yeah, now, I mean, and it's a joke because obviously I don't want them back in a regular school, like, but it's still one of those, like, they don't want to go back anymore. Like, they've
Right.
decided he's more than happy to do high school all the way through, graduate. Like, well, when I told him that he could do high school and essentially get college credits on as we go, and you know what I mean, he's like, okay, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that's great.
Yep.
Right. And it sounds like, see, this is exactly why we do what we do, why we got involved with PAACH in the first place, and why we're starting to teach classes is so that we want to encourage other people, number one, that you can do this. And
Mhm.
number two, we want them to experience the same joys of homeschooling that we have experienced and
Yeah.
how much better our relationships with our kids are because of it.
Yeah,
And,
that's
and
a
the whole
lot.
aspect of family discipleship and being together and doing life together is it's so much more biblical and it's so much more rewarding.
Mhm.
Well, and just them learning life skills. I'm sorry, but high school does not teach, well, most of them still don't know how to cook a meal for themselves.
Right.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Well, like, my kids both cook. My
Mhm.
son loves to bake. Like, that would have not been something that probably, I mean, it obviously could have still happened with them being in, but probably not because the time isn't there. Like, you know what I mean? They go to
Yeah.
school for 8 hours a day, then they come home, do homework for another 2 or 3 hours, and then, you know what I mean, dinner, and you go to
Right.
bed. Like, there is no, let's go out and just have fun anymore,
Right.
or you're shirking something, you know what I mean? So, yeah, like, the amount of things that they've gotten to try, that they've gotten to do, and like you said, our relationship, um, is something that I don't think, well, like, I know with my daughter, her whole attitude has dramatically changed from being in public school to coming home and homeschooling.
Mhm.
Oh, absolutely.
Because, like, we had temper tantrums every night because she was being good and quiet and, calm for 8 hours a day. Well, then she comes home and explodes.
Right.
Like, seriously, I can't handle the exploding anymore. Like, we got to figure something out before mom pulls her hair out.
Yep.
So, no, take him back. I know, not on the camera. Go, please. Thank you. So,
The
yeah,
joys of living life right as a homeschooling
yep,
parent.
I was gonna say, homeschooling does not stop just because I'm on the camera or anything else.
Right.
In your room. Just
Yeah.
take him back to your room with you.
Okay. I want to finish my English.
Okay,
So we're really looking forward to convention because it gives us the opportunity to meet new people, to encourage them in their homeschooling journey. This year, 2 years ago, I taught a dad class that got a lot of really positive feedback, and so I'm going to do it again this year. It's going to be at Friday morning on 10:30. Um, I've been working on it, trying to revise it a little bit, add a few tweaks here and there, but I'm really excited about it because dads are generally dragged to the homeschool convention by their wife.
Well, that's how
But
we started.
and that's how kind of we started was I got our motivation for homeschooling at first was more out of fear of all the bad things that were happening in public school.
Yep.
And when we went to our first homeschool convention, I caught the vision of family discipleship from somebody who was teaching as a grandfather
Mhm.
who homeschooled his kids, and his kids were homeschooling his grandchildren. And I was like, yes, that's a much better reason. And so that's kind of what I'm going to be sharing in my dad's class, is just the vision for family discipleship, and how much better this is going to be for your family, how much better relationships you're going to have with your kids, because you're living with your kids all the time, not just a couple hours a night. You don't have as hard of a time talking about theology and the Bible and whatever life issues come up, because you're always together, and
Right.
you learn to like each
Mhm.
other rather than just put up with each other.
That's true.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about teaching that class.
I think a lot of dads also, they don't know what their role is in homeschooling,
Right.
because moms do for the primary of the teaching, because we're usually the ones staying home with kids.
Correct.
Right.
And I think the feedback that we got from the class is that a lot of dads were able to see, oh, this is my role
Right.
as in our
Where my
homeschooling.
role is in that.
And it reassured them a lot, and it helped them to take those steps in the process of that.
And then
too.
they get the idea, hey, yeah, we can do this. And then instead of fighting their wife, they're encouraging their wife and being like, yeah, let's do it. So
That's true. Well,
And
and
wives
again,
need that encouragement. We really
Yes,
do.
they
I
do.
mean, for us, when we first started homeschooling, the first 3 years of our homeschooling journey, I really felt alone, like I was doing it by myself. And it was a chore, and it was a struggle, and it was, very hard to do. But once he caught that vision, he and took the role for our family and for homeschooling, it helped him to realize where I was at. And he stepped alongside me, and he was much more of a cheerleader for me and supported me in the homeschooling, and which really helped me not to dread it so much.
Right.
right. I was gonna say, well, yeah, because I think, well, even like my husband, he's not home a lot, so I'm primary. But like there are field trips, especially like we went to Springfield on a Saturday. Well, he made sure that he got up and went with us, even though he didn't get home from work, you know what I mean, until 5 or 6 o'clock that night. So probably wasn't necessarily his favorite thing to do on a Saturday morning, is go hang out with a bunch of kids and, but when he can, he definitely is there and tries to be a part of what we are learning and doing. And you know what I mean? And yeah, when it comes to the kids, anything that he can go to or be a part of, he tries his darndest to do it.
That's fantastic.
Even if he isn't here 90% of the time because of work, but
Yeah.
that job allows me to stay home and not really have to worry about work. And I mean, I babysit, so I bring in some money, but you know what I mean? It's different than if I would go back to work because I have a degree. Like I did go to school and all that nice stuff. And then, that plan, God always has, there's your plan and then there's God's plan. And yeah, you figure it
Right.
out real quick that your plan didn't really matter one iota. So, and I stopped worrying about it. Because I mean, if you had talked to me when I was in high school, I would have told you I would have never been a stay-at-home mom. I was career
Oh,
driven.
I can raise my hand.
Yep.
I was a career woman driven, and I
And
have,
And that's not, I mean, I don't think that's a problem, because
right.
obviously it gave me a lot of knowledge by going to school, and you know what I mean, made me confident in being able to show the kids how to do things. And I have side work and stuff that I do. But truthfully, my grandma got sick and I chose to stay home and take care of her. And we didn't homeschool literally till actually she passed away, because that's when COVID hit. She passed away in 2020, not because of COVID, but and that's when COVID hit. And I realized that we're doing school here at the house. Like I'm doing most of it anyway. So why am I not just homeschooling them? And because the whole 8 hour a day thing has always bugged me. I mean, even when I was in school, because like if I was
Yeah.
sick, I could do 8 hours worth of homework in 2 hours. Why am I
Right.
sitting in school for 8 hours? Like,
So much wasted time.
yep.
And
Yep.
it's interesting how God puts us on a path, and it's God's journey for our lives.
Yep.
And like you said, you originally started staying home to take care of your grandmother, and it turned into homeschooling years later. And
Yep.
it's just part of God's path and plan for our lives.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So my wife is going to be doing a class about what she's passionate about, and that's how to the legal aspect of homeschooling in Illinois.
Mhm.
She's had enough experience and She's kind of passionate about legislation and politics. So she has a lot of knowledge to share in that, and hopefully she'll do it in a way that gets other people excited or at least informed.
I was gonna say informed is a lot of it, because
Right.
that's probably where you can find the websites, but sometimes reading them, it's like you think it says one thing and then it says something else. You know what I mean? Like the law is so sketchy, I guess is the way to put it. You know what I mean? It's
It's
like,
very vague.
okay, did I read that right? Or am I putting my own skew on it to make it what I want it to say? You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that goes for a lot of people, because especially new people, or you know what I mean, like going into high school. Well, what's the
Mhm.
requirement for 8th grade? Well, like you
Right.
put in a post. There is no actual requirement for 8th grade. Like
Right.
what the school system does, but as a homeschooler, we don't have to do exactly what the school system does.
Right.
Right.
And I
And
think
I think it
that,
will give parents the confidence too. I think that's a lot of what we did, well, what I struggled with in the beginning was confidence being homeschooling and knowing what I'm doing is right and according to the law. And so
right.
I think that this class is, and, it's not just for new homeschoolers, great for new homeschoolers also, because it will give them that confidence boost, but it's for people that have been homeschooling a few years, or maybe somebody that's been homeschooling a while, but now they're getting ready to enter high school with their kids. And they're like, well, does it change? Does the homeschool law change for high schoolers? Well, we're going to cover that in my class.
Yeah.
So,
It's
Okay.
gonna be good.
Are
And
you,
then the other class we're going to do together, because this year at convention, we as a board decided to do a marriage track. And so several of the board families are, since we're all well experienced in marriage and homeschooling, we decided to offer up our experience and hopefully some wisdom that will help others, because homeschooling puts it puts additional strain on a marriage. And I've heard it said this way, that homeschooling brings forward the issues in your marriage much quicker than when you're not around each other, having to deal with each other all the time. So we are going to try to share our perspective on how the gospel applies to your marriage and how you can live that out, and how much better your marriage can, and your family as a whole will be for it. So
Okay.
we're looking forward to sharing our 24 years of experience. And
some tools to implement.
I'm a handyman, so I like to talk in tools, and so I'm going to give tools. I'm giving tools for dads, and I'm giving tools for couples this year. We're really excited about it, and obviously we're going to share some of our ridiculous experiences with hopes of helping other people from stepping in that same pile of manure. So
right.
we're excited about it this year. It's
We've
going to
been
be really
enjoying
good.
prepping for the class this week. Let's just say that we've been enjoying prepping for the class.
Yeah.
And giving each other a hard time. So
It's also been eye-opening for us, and realizing even after 24 years of marriage, we still need to work on our marriage, because we're
Well,
being reminded that, you know what, we're still learning things that we had no idea about each other.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think it's going to be a really good convention this year. I'm looking forward to meeting some new people. I'm looking forward to attending some of the other marriage classes. And we're really excited that Generation Joshua is coming this year.
yes,
We really hope that people take advantage of that, because if there's any area in our country, as far as profession, that needs Christian people that
And
know how to
guidance.
think, it's politics.
yep.
We need Christian politicians who are going to take a stand, and we're starting to see some of those, but we need more. And what
Yeah.
better way but to give our kids a taste of that, and what that might look like, and maybe some of them will heed the call of God on their life to go into that.
Well, it's a
Yep.
simulation, and so it's basically just a game for kids, teens to do, and so it's going to be great. Plus, our teens are going to be exposed a lot this year because it's an election year,
Right.
so they're going to be seeing a lot of this on TV, through ads, through radio, and print. So I think this is a good class to offer for our teens this year, because they're going to be exposed to it, and so let's show them what a Christian perspective should be. in
Yeah.
that.
Well, and like you said, it's a game, but it's a very applicable game. Like
Right.
like you said, it's a fun way of learning this stuff without it making it so boring, but it applies. And especially like you said, it's an election year. So they're going to see exactly how it applies pretty quickly.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where some years it probably wouldn't be quite as applicable, but being this year, but yeah, Jake has signed up for it. Gracie's too young, so Gracie is my more political one, but you know what I mean? Like, so hopefully we'll do it again in a few years when she's old
Right.
enough to do it. But yeah, I think learning, that's the one thing I like about homeschool. If your child doesn't learn real quickly, or even if they do, but when they come to something that they don't pick up right away, it doesn't have to be, oh, well, we read the book. Oh, well, we watched this movie. Oh, well, you know what I mean? You can do so much more and so easily make it so much more fun. Learning should
Right.
be fun. If it's fun, then you want to do it. It's not this
Right.
whole dreaded, I hate math. Well, I'm not a math fan, but honestly, we've revamped math. So like Gracie is not bad at it, but she's never liked it. Well, now math is actually one of her favorites. English is the one that I'm working on now with her, but
Well, the great thing about the generation Joshua is you're being immersed into the program and into the game. So it's a great, fun way to learn. It really is. And that's how my kids learn. My kids learn through the creative aspect. So a lot of the homeschooling tools that we use are very hands-on.
yep.
And so it's nice that Generation Joshua is coming to bring this option to our teens. My boys are looking forward to wanting to be part of it. I told them they had to hold off to see if other kids get the opportunity, because we do have a cap at 30 kids.
Yeah.
So definitely, if you want to sign up, or you want your teens part of that, they do need to sign up quicker than later, because there is a cap on that class.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yes.
say, I've been pushing anybody that has asked me, I'm like, just go sign up for it. Like, because yeah, I don't want anybody to miss it if
Right.
they want to do it. But I'm like, there's only so many slots. I know that, like, go sign up. I said it applies to us too. You know what I mean? Like our
Mhm.
children, if they're going to get into it, had to be signed up like ASAP. So go get onto it. So
Right. And it makes great conversations too with your teens. So
Yeah.
it really does.
yeah. Well, and truthfully, again, homeschooling, having conversations because you know what they're learning about.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you can have a conversation and it's not just, so what'd you do today? Nothing.
Mhm.
Okay, well, when you're not at school, nothing is okay. Well, maybe you really didn't go over much today. You know what I mean? You can't really have a conversation when you don't have any clue what actually went on. Where
Right.
homeschooling, you know exactly what they were supposed to have learned. So you can ask
Sure.
questions to say,
Right.
did you actually learn this? Or,
Yeah.
or did you actually understand what you're telling me you learned? Because
Right.
especially Gracie is notorious. Yeah, I did my homework. And I'm like, really? What'd you learn about? I don't remember. I'm like, then you probably didn't learn it very well, did you?
Right.
So, okay, last thing. Any tidbit motto that you like to use?
Well, if you haven't already figured out from everything we say, our basically vision that we live by is family first. We do absolutely everything together as a family.
Home discipleship, family discipleship.
Right.
Just
It's all
right
about
along those-
discipleship and learning to live life.
being relational
God-
with their kids.
God puts you together with the family that you've been given for a purpose. It's for sanctification and it's for learning, it's for growing and maturing. So we've been given so many weird looks because we always turn up to everything with our whole family. But that's how we live. We have
Right.
a policy where whenever our kids do something extracurricular, one child does an extracurricular at a time and everybody else goes and supports that.
Yep.
So our oldest son did Lego League and everybody went to support him. And then my younger son did basketball for, that a season and everybody went to support him. That's how we function as a family, because that's
Yeah.
how you learn how to walk the Christian life, is in family.
I was gonna say we've done that too. Like my daughter plays softball and my son is not an athletic person. So, but he still goes and watches her play every game. I said, that's
Right.
part of being part of the family. I said, when you do something, then we go, you know what I mean, to support you as well. So yeah, I agree. Family first is definitely, and part of family is God first. So
Right.
kind of all
Yeah.
fits together.
Well, ultimately, God calls our first ministry to our families. And so that's where we should be ministering to first before we're ministering anywhere else.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, I think that's it for today. See it, James, it wasn't hard, was it? I promise.
No, it wasn't.
Very
So-
conversational.
I will talk to you guys later then.
All right, thanks.
All right.
Thanks.
Hope to see you all at convention.
Bye.